gentlemen, welcome to a special collaboration of two of your favorite podcasts. Brandon from the Badass American Heroes Podcast and Blake from the Noise Pollution Podcast. Coming together once a month to bring you a special episode. Are you ready? Let's go! Yeah, alright. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Swapcast episode with Brandon. Woo! And myself, Blake. Thank you guys so much for being here. We got a special one tonight, don't we?
We do, man. Super special. The most special.
The most specialist episode Swapcast we probably have ever done to date.
I think that's accurate.
It's pretty fair to say, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, I'm not even going to drag this whole intro out longer, you know?
I wouldn't.
No, I'm not either. You know, we're going to jump right into the episode today, guys. So, if you haven't caught it from the name of this episode, we are interviewing Ross Patterson, the Big Dick Daddy himself.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's a famous author. He's been in some major Hollywood films. He's produced, directed, acted. He's, you know, podcaster. He's got his finger in just about everything these days. So definitely looking forward to having him on, having a conversation. So, I mean, Brandon, are you ready?
I am so ready. I was born ready for this moment.
You were born ready. Out there living the best you. Now you're born ready. Yeah.
Dude. I just grind it out, man.
That's right. All right. That's it. No more. Ladies and gentlemen, Ross Patterson! Woo!
Let's go.
We are all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe. Yes, we are all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe. Yes, we are all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe, all Harambe.
Yo.
Well. Look who we got here. Ross fucking Patterson. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
I'm living my best life right now.
God damn it. Yes, you are. And we've been talking about that a lot. Living our best fucking lives here on the podcast.
And I want to, by the way, I want to apologize at the start of this. You said October 19th. I was like, yep, nothing going on. That's a lie. It was my wife and I's anniversary then. I was like, oh, fuck. But guess who's still here? Guess who's still here?
Totally easy, acceptable thing to totally forget about. You know, no worries. I do the same thing all the time. Birthdays, anniversaries, it's whatever.
Well,
yeah,
here's the
guilty.
thing, dude. I've been traveling for like the last. I've been in a different city every weekend. Like, man, I want to say like 14 out of the last 16 weekends. You could tell me it was fucking December of 1944. I'd be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well,
8
dude.
times everything, like nothing means anything right now.
well, hey,
you
look,
know, we appreciate you sneaking away from Jables for the evening and jumping on the podcast with us, man. We really do appreciate it.
For sure, man. For sure.
Yeah, you know, you talk about traveling a lot, man. You know, it was fucking, you know, we met up down in Philly for the Eagles opener game, and that was fucking crazy down there. Fuck, man.
Man, that was a blast. I went back to Pittsburgh maybe 4 weeks later, and man, those guys at Stateside Vodka go hard. All the Drinkin Bros down there go hard. That was a fucking blast, man. I really enjoyed Philly.
Yeah, that was a good time. You know, I've never done anything like that before. I'm not a big sports guy myself personally, but like I'm all for getting together with a bunch of awesome people and getting shit faced. And yeah, man, that was a fucking great time. You know, it's sad that we got taken down a little too soon, but you know, fuck it, man. It is what it is, I guess.
Well, look, that's the beauty of sports, though, as far as tailgating goes, is even if you're not a fan of the team or actually going to the game, the tailgates go for fucking hours. So it's great for, like, you know, to grab like a random group of strangers and a bunch of people together. That's it, man. Like, you know, you can do that in every city and basically have an excuse to do it because there's a million other people partying.
Well, and then you were just at the game. What was it? Sunday. It was the Falcons. Who the Falcons play? But you were there with your son. Yeah, the Falcons Buccaneers. Yeah, you did your first game with your son.
Sweet. I was in the sweet life of Zach and Cody.
Yeah. So how was that with your boy? Because Blake and I both have kids, but your son's quite a bit younger than ours. How was that experience doing that in the suite? Did your son think like, oh my God, my dad's the coolest guy ever?
Well, here's the thing. We were on the field beforehand, so he got to meet all the players. He was wearing a Julio Jones jersey. He got to meet Julio Jones, all that stuff. And we took pictures on the field before we went up there. And I'm not even saying this to brag. I'm saying it in the fact that he's 4 years old. So I wanted to get a picture of it because I don't know if he'll remember it or not. But when he thinks I'm an asshole when he's like 16 years old, at least I'll have this one picture and be like, hey, your dad was fucking cool back in the day. Not only did he get you field tickets, but he got you a suite too. So I don't want to hear it.
That's the best thing to do if you guys get in a fight when he is 16. You just slap that picture down and be like, hey, motherfucker, you remember this? Because it happened.
Yeah, or look, if he starts getting lippy and needs a little rap on the beak, I'll pull out a picture of, giving him a Roman helmet when he was 2 years old. Be like, oh, you trying to act all hard for your girlfriend? Congratulations. My dick was down the length of your face, and I've been sitting on this picture for 15 years.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
Remember when we had you circumcised? Let's break those pictures out.
Yep, did it myself. I can do it again. I can go back in and take another fucking inch off if you get lippy with me.
Starting off the fucking show with the bag tonight, guys. Welcome back to another Swapcast.
Yeah, 4 minutes and we're talking about penises. I love it.
Fucking.
It's fine. I think I too late with it. I think it should have come earlier.
Probably come earlier. I see what you did there, Ross. God damn it.
God damn it. Double entendre, all of that.
We always come a little too early, don't we? Maybe just me. I don't know.
So, Ross, while we had you on the show, man, we wanted to talk about kind of, how you got your start in acting. I know you've talked about like the whole process of writing. You just did, Launch Code with Baker Leavitz where you talked about your process behind writing and stuff, but kind of like walk us through how you got your start in Hollywood, what it was like to make the decision of like, okay, I'm moving out to LA. This is it. It's go big or go home. And if I don't make it, then I got to figure something else out.
Well, I mean, I will say this, and without it sounding too cliche or whatever, that whole love what you do bullshit that you see on Pinterest, and you never work a day in your life. I mean, it's a lie, but there is some truth to it. So early on, I decided in my career of like, all right, I'm going to do something that I love. If I can't do it, I will try until it kills me. Luckily, it hasn't killed me yet, but it almost has a few times. And I made a conscious decision when I was 14, either 14 or 15 years old. I was one of those kids I was really good at sports, and in particular, I excelled at basketball. And I mean, I'm talking like dropping fifth in like an 8th grade game, like that level of basketball. So the following summer, and I would say it was right before high school, like somewhere in the 9th grade era, I was on those AAU teams that traveled around, and I played with all of the best kids in the state of Georgia. And there was a guy who ended up going to the pros named Sharif Abdur-Rahim. I will never forget him to this day. Before we started playing, they were like, yo, man, this guy is going to be in the NBA one day. He's fucking incredible, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, hockey, fucking 14, 15-year-old. I was like, great. Well, he's not going to be better than me. No lie, the tip-off happens within 3 seconds. I'm on the ground. I look up, and he had dunked over me. I'm underneath him, and I can see his dick and balls in my face as he's hanging from the rim. This is no lie. Fuck. And we got beat 88-28 that day, and I learned what real God-given talent was versus, all right, I could spend the rest of my life in a gym and never be this good. And we were staying at the University of Georgia campus in their dorms, and their freshman dorms where they put us in the summer to this camp. And I remember taking a notebook out and sitting on the bed and saying, all right, basketball is out for a life career. It is time to decide what you are the best at or what you think you can excel at in this life. and make a bunch of money and be the best at it, or give it up. And so I gave up basketball, and I wrote in this journal that I had, comedy. I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to happen, whether it would be through stand-up TV or films. Books was much, much later in my career, but I went full blown at that point. And I think from that moment on, I think I was around 15, because I had a driver's license the next year, and I was doing stand-up at 16 years old with a fake ID in downtown Atlanta, where I was from. So I put that plan into action very, very early in life, and I was pretty determined.
Okay, so you started off at a super young age. Something it's not a lot of people do. I mean, when I was like 15 years old, I have no fucking idea what the hell I was gonna do. I was like, I guess I'll just join the military, like I ended up doing anyway, like I think most of us do. But your career then kind of took a turn. I mean, from there, you decided to go to college, right? You went to, what's that, Ohio State, correct?
Yeah, and that was intentional. So I decided this because I knew how hard it was, even at a young age. Like, I had asked, and I had known some people who were like local famous in Georgia, and my father was a disc jockey and like on the radio, back when you had records and shit like that. And I had seen him go to the markets, and I had met like a ton of famous people growing up with him in the summers, because he had custody in the summers. And I had to see that side of the business. And like, some people were super famous, and then boom, they were out of the game, and that was it. And I was like, shit. So I understood what that whole game was like very young. Therefore, I went to college to get a degree to fall back on. And my mom had always said too. She was just like, look, all of this is great, and that whole world is great, and I think you can excel in it, but get a college degree to fall back on just in case it doesn't happen. Because let's face it, the entertainment business is a business that the hardest person working doesn't always necessarily win. It takes talent, yes, but you also need a lucky break or a hand along the way, and you don't know who or what that's going to be. And 99.9% of the people don't get it. So I went to Ohio State. I got a degree in journalism and communications, and then after that I went to NYU for film, and then I moved to Los Angeles the day after. So I was in LA. Yeah, I mean, it was no bullshit. Like, I was on a flight the next day to Los Angeles. I knew you had to go to Los Angeles to make this dream work. So, I was there 12 hours after, I'd wrapped my semester at NYU.
What was it like when you got out to LA and you're sitting in this new city where you don't live, you don't have anything except what you carried on your back? Like, what's that feeling like when you go into something like that and you're like, okay, now I got to figure out how to survive?
Yeah, I will say this. New York was a great learning lesson because, I mean, I was going to school. I was doing 2 semesters in one, so I was there for like 8 hours a day, and I was doing stand-up at night. And then I was going out after that, which was crazy. A friend of mine, his sister was Tara Reid. So Tara at the time was in like Big Lebowski. I think Big Lebowski had just come out, and like she'd give me all the hookups, like all the bouncers in New York. So like, I mean, I was living that life already, even though I wasn't even in it, and I was in school. So when I got to LA, like the cool part of it continued, where I was able to go to shit and meet people, like go to events and meet people and all that stuff. But the hard part of waking up every day and, I hate to say the word grind, but the hard work.
That grind life.
I hate it. That hashtag grind father, all that shit. But like, I hate to say that, but like, it really does. You've got to start the day running and work hard, where, I spent every single day either sending out headshots and resumes or trying to meet people or working gigs where people might be at. I mean, my first job out there was a waiter for the Emmys, for the after party. And then, I think I did like maybe the Oscars after that. And, I couldn't get an agent. I couldn't get anybody to fucking call me from these headshots and resumes, nothing. And then Staples Center was about to open in Los Angeles, and I knew all the celebrities would be there, and they would have a box. So I was a waiter for one of the boxes. And the opening night that Staples opened, there was a girl, this black girl who had, we got our boxes, like who was going to be in our box, like right before we started. And she was like, "Who do you have?" And I was like, "I got Ice Cube, the rapper." And she was like, "Oh my God, I fucking love him." And I was like, "Who'd you get?" And she was like, "I think I got some bank or something. It's called ICM." And I knew that was like one of the top 2 agencies out there at the time. And I was like, "Oh fuck, I'll switch with you. Like, I don't give a shit about Ice Cube." And so I switched, and I got in there with all of the agents. And then, you know, they were like, "Dude, you're hilarious." And they kept requesting me over and over and over again. And then finally one of them was like, "Man, what do you do?" And I was like, "Man, I'm a comedian. I'm an actor, blah, blah, blah. I just get out of NYU." And he was like, "Well, do you have any footage of what you've done?" And I was like, "No, I literally just got out of college." And so he's like, "Well, I tell you what, you know, go back to some footage or whatever." And I was like, "No, just give me 5 auditions. If I don't book 1 out of 5, you never have to talk to me again." And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah, just 5 auditions is all I'm asking for. And then if I don't book one of those, you can tell me to fuck off, and I'll just continue to work in the box." So he gave me his card, and he was just like, "All right, asshole, here you go." So I got up Monday morning, called him, said, "Hey, man, it's Ross. Just give me those 5 auditions, man. I'm in." I believe the second one was The New Guy, and I booked, you know, one of the leads in that movie, and then I was signed with ICM, you know, within hours after that. But I realized how fortunate I was. You know, I think I was up against like maybe 500 or 600 people for that role. Jesus. And it was supposed to be black.
A black guy?
Oh, shit.
And they switched it at the last, like, I don't know what I did in my audition. And I haven't seen the director since. He was a great guy, but I haven't seen him since. So I never got to sit down and ask him why, you know, why. But they switched the role, and the other guy, their boyfriend at the first high school, that was a smaller role, ended up being black, and they switched that role to mine. So, you know, from there, I finally had a reel and footage and all that other stuff, and then the rest of the movie started to come, and that made it easier. But that first year, like year and a half, was fucking brutal. And then even after that, man, because The New Guy, it took like 2 years to come out. So, like, I still didn't have anything out, although I had this lead in this studio film that I thought was going to be big. Yeah, man, that first couple of years was hard.
So how do you go from there? Like, I mean, you did The New Guy. That was a great film. I have a little backstory. I'll get to that later, my own personal backstory as far as The New Guy goes. But The New Guy, you went on to do movies like Accepted, you know, and stuff like that. You know, and kind of like moving forward a little bit, like you started really kind of like branching off and like doing your own thing, you know, directing, producing and stuff like that. What made that kind of change in your life that you wanted to go off and start doing those roles instead of like acting in major films?
Well, the weird thing was this, right? I moved out there again because I loved comedy and I wanted to make comedy films and all that shit. And yes, The New Guy and Accepted and all that stuff were comedies. However, I was the asshole in them, and I was the bad guy in them. And like, I didn't really get to do what I do, you know, improv and comedy and all that other shit. So it got to a certain point where I was getting older, and like to be honest with you, shit, I'm trying to remember. I think I was in Accepted. I think I was 28, and I'm playing college. And you know, Blake Lively was in it. I think Blake was like 17 or 18. And you sit down with everybody and you're like, holy shit. Like, you know, I remember like something next to Jonah Hill, like some release, and, you know, he was younger too. And you were like, all right, cool. I lied about my age on there just because I didn't want people to not want to hang out with me because I was older, but I looked younger.
Yeah.
And so that, as amazing as that was for what I was, you know, for the movies and all that shit, it became a problem right around 30. When I was 30, I got called to do this TV series for ABC or like the Disney Channel or something, and it was to play a college kid. and I'm 30 years old. And it was a 6-year deal. Every TV series that's on television still to this day is a 6-year deal, and that's the gig, right? So with that, I wouldn't have graduated this college TV show until I was like 37, 38 years old. And so I decided I had to switch my own career and change it. So I took all the money I made from acting, and I just wanted to make like weird fucking, out there movies that I thought were funny and that I thought, I could get like a cult following from, because that's what I enjoy.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
And then I started making, all these movies. I started making Turn About Guitar Legend, FDR, American Badass, and Helen Keller vs. Night Wolves, and all of that shit. And that's the type of shit that I comedically is missing in today's world. And I enjoyed like the Mel Brooks style of humor of pushing it as far as you can push a joke, and so that's why. So I was the one who switched that on my own. There was no other outside forces. It's just I would have been in college technically till I was like 38 years old.
Right. Now let me ask you a quick question, Ross. Do you feel that like certain actors in Hollywood, actresses, like if they fulfill like one role, like in one major like Hollywood film, right? Do you feel like that persona of that actor kind of sticks with that person kind of throughout their whole life? Like we talked about Jonah Hill, right? And like he kind of plays like the fat, like dumb kid, right? And do people keep those personas like for like their careers for the most part?
Well, look, you take Jonah as a perfect example. Jonah was very successful in that realm, and then switched. He did Moneyball. He got nominated for an Oscar, and then Wolf of Wall Street got nominated for an Oscar, and he was fucking great in Wolf of Wall Street.
Absolutely.
And now he's doing this Netflix show. He just wrote and directed a movie called Mid-90s that's coming out in a couple weeks. So it's fucking dope as shit. Like that guy, more than anyone else. And again, I worked with him and expected. We didn't have that great of a relationship in that movie working together, but I look at his career path. And I respect everything he's doing. He's doing all of the right things, whereas I don't think a lot of people are doing that, what he's doing. So to a certain degree, yes. Like I have a bunch of friends that will be unnamed that are perfectly fine cashing a check playing the same role over and over and over again. Because it's hard, man. Like Hollywood is hard. It's hard to get roles. So if you get in something like a fucking, the dream for, I would say 99.9% of actors is to get a series that goes for like 10 years, like a Grey's Anatomy or something like that, or Big Bang Theory, where you're just richer than Jesus, and then you can do whatever you want after that. The problem is those series don't come around very often.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, so go ahead, Brandon. You can chime in.
So, how after kind of Helen Keller versus Night Wolves, you got tied in with the Art 15 crew and, JT and Matt Best and Rocco and all those guys. And it kind of opened you up to like a whole new crowd, because I think I can kind of speak for myself and Blake. We had seen you in The New Guy. We had seen you in Accepted, but at least I didn't know about your other movies that you had done until Range 15 hit, and it kind of hit into our military circle. How was that getting open to like kind of a whole new realm of fans and an audience and like kind of whole new world of the military comedy?
Well, it's funny because so Jared hit me up. He had seen a movie of mine, that FDR American Badass movie I talked about. Was on Netflix, and that was a really massive cult movie, and it had a big cult following. And so he had called me after that and said, "Hey, man," or not called me, but he sent me an email with his script for Range 15, and he was just like, "Hey, man, I'm a huge fan of FDR. I fucking love your shit, dude. I want you to be perfect to direct this movie for us." And I read it, and I think the script is very good. The first pass of the script, and I said, "Look." And he said, "We're veterans" at the bottom. That was his last line. And I had always done charities for veterans and things like that, and always tried to help out. And I was like, "All right, fuck, I'll read this script." And so I read it, and I called him back, and I was like, "Man, it's really difficult with not a good script, and you guys aren't really actors." And Jared was like, "No, man, we are. We do all of these videos and all that shit." I had no idea about Matt or Article 15 and all that stuff. And then he started sending me the videos. So with that script in mind, as I watched these videos, I was like, all right, fuck, man, these guys are really fucking funny. It just takes somebody to write for them personally. So I called him back and I was like, all right, I know what to do with this script, but I'm going to have to rewrite it from page 1 if you're cool with that. And then I think you can make it. And he was like, dude, done. So he goes, why don't you fly out to my house? And I was like, all right. So he lives in El Paso, Texas. I fly out there, and he's got an empty house. He's got 2 kids, empty house, literally just instruments in the living room, no couches, no nothing. Beer, vodka, all that shit. And we end up drinking and writing together. And the more we were drinking and writing together and hanging out and talking, you know, I got to work with Rocco every day. I got to work with Jared every day and Matt and all those guys. The more I realized we were all really just similar people. We like drinking and fighting and fucking and shooting shit. And I didn't have that in Hollywood. I didn't have I have a very small group of friends, like actor-wise from LA. Everybody's kind of a pussy. And, you know, that term snowflake is real. And the more and more I hung out with these guys, I was like, dude, I feel like, you know, military aside, I felt like I found like my new best friends where, you know, I was like, dude, we just become best friends. And so after that, I was like, I was excited to work on that movie, you know, not only because of their veterans and stuff, but like also because I felt like I had a new group of best friends and like-minded individuals who were interested in making super fucked up content at all, you know, costs. And it was great. So the bonus of all of that was that, you know, I didn't know they had a huge military following and all that stuff. So like, I didn't believe the Range 15 would get made. They said that they were starting an Indiegogo. I went and shot it with them, and they were asking for like an absurd amount of money. It was like $300,000 or $400,000, and nobody gets over 40 grand. And that night, I think they had raised like $500,000 in like 24 hours, something crazy. And I was like, oh my God, you guys have a lot of fans. And so I didn't know that world. And then afterwards, you know, I shot Range 15 and then it came out, and then city by city and event by event, I realized how big the community was. And again, it's all, we all love the same type of humor, which is rare. So, to be exposed to, you know, veterans and that whole military world was fucking awesome because, you know, look, I'm not in the military, but other than that, we share the same values about life, and we have the same dark humor about all of this shit. So it was great. Like it just happened to be a really, really great fit for all of us. And then the podcast happened. You know, we were in the middle of post-production for Range 15, and that podcast world was kind of starting to get like lukewarm. And I was like, man, we should, you know, Jared and I were like, we should do this. We should do a podcast together. And then that blew up. And then, you know, shit, here we are 325 episodes later for that. So as far as like everything in that community, between just the military community alone and then the Drinkin Bros community too, like it's been fucking crazy, man. And awesome. Like kind of everything that I wanted in Hollywood, except for it's real people. You know, in Hollywood, you're kind of looking for the adulation of like fake people who really don't matter and all that other shit. And you're like, man, it'd be dope if like real people watch my shit, and then we could go out and drink beers afterwards. And that's exactly what's happening now.
That's an absolutely incredible story. I mean, like, you know, Brandon and myself, we're big fans of, you know, we're Drinkin Bros, and, you know, we're avid listeners of Drinkin Bros Podcast, Ross Patterson Revolution, all that stuff like that. You know, you go from all of that, you know, you produce a film that was financed by, you know, I would probably say mostly military veterans, and it was a movie for military veterans and stuff like that, which is, to be alone, that alone is just, that's a great thing alone. And to really kind of like break it down to like a really simplistic level is like, to me, it's like this is like the era of like military, like growth. I mean, post military service, right? So, you don't have to like get out and the military and go work a fucking cop job or something like that. You can go really like me and Brandon, we joke a lot about the whole grind thing and stuff like that, but it is real, and like you can go do that stuff if you really want to. I mean, like, you know, we talk about Black Rifle and Drinkin Bros and all those guys, you know, pretty frequently because, you know, one, we're fans. Two, like we look up to, you know, those guys because they set good examples for, you know, people who transitioning out of the military and people, you know, who are struggling and stuff like that to strive towards something. And, you know, it helps guys like me and guys like Brandon, I'm sure as well. He would probably agree on, but I'm sure he's pretty tanked right now at this point. But no, it's just.
Well, I will say this. That's why those guys do it. You know, everybody looks at the videos online and they're like, oh man, their life must be a blast and a party and all that shit. Dude, those guys work like 15 hours a day. We all do. In different facets, like, you know, the podcast, like shit, I do 6 a week. My wife, you know, edits them. She does the sound editing for them. She does the video edits for them, and then the Instagram clips and all that stuff. You know, I shoot it and direct it, and you know, that's 6 days a week. And then I'm usually writing 6 days a week. So, you know, wake up and do the show, and then I'll go into the office and start writing whatever my next masterpiece is, because, you know, everybody wants the fucking third book of When Darkness Falls, He Doesn't Catch It. They want the new one after that, you know? I just finished writing the janitor scripts. Like, all of this stuff that you see is hard work, but it's also because everybody doesn't want to let the veteran community down. You know what I'm saying? So, with Black Rifle and all those guys, and I mean, shit, since I am tied to them, and they're my best friends and all that stuff, like, it's important to keep all of this going, even as that, like, Black Rifle, for example, keeps going higher and higher and higher. I mean, that company is exploding, and it's like, dude, I would love to do more movies with them. I know they don't have time. The podcast is one thing, though, that we can at least come together on a few hours out of the week and laugh and drink beers and catch up on life. But those guys work a shit ton of hours, and yeah, if anybody else out there is listening, like, dude, it is possible. It just requires an unbelievable amount of hours and hard work. I'm fucking Post Malone now. I'm about to get "Stay Tired" tattooed under my eyes. They're always tired. I mean, Jesus. Because that's what it is. And you're like, you know, because even when you get to a certain level of success, if you let your guard down just a little bit, man, your company or your business could crumble. And, you know, unless you sell it for $1 jillion and are able to live off a yacht, that's great. But other than that, you know, that hard work should never stop.
And it never seems like it does stop with you guys, you know, with Matt and JT and Evan and Rocco, you know, and you guys are always going. Like you said, you just like a month and a half ago released, When Darkness Falls, He Doesn't Catch It, which was fucking amazing, by the way. And then
Man, I went hard as fuck in that book.
I loved it. And as soon as you finished that, you started the janitor script. And now that you're done with that, like, you're going to start writing the third book. And like, it just never stops. It's always, you got to keep going, because that's the way it works.
Yeah, because all this stuff is also delayed too, where it's just like, all right, you know, you take Matt's book. Matt's book will be coming out next year, and you know, we wrote that. Fuck, man, I turned that in. I turned it in May of 2016. No, May of 2017, and it'll probably come out next spring or summer. You know, once it clears the DOD. It's been stuck there for 17 months, by the way. The Department of Defense.
Yeah, you guys talk about that a lot.
It's so aggravating, man. Like, every anti-Trump book is getting pushed through the DOD, and you can't do an actual person who is in the fucking military. Like, can't read theirs. You can read Omarosa's and clear it, but you can't clear Matt's. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
But with that being said, I knew that, and that is very similar to Hollywood, where there's always problems like that. There's always delays. There's always fucking pushes. So if you're not constantly working on something, because you don't know what that next project out is going to be. So, for example, when I finished Matt's book, I usually take like one day off I'll fucking rage, get fucked up, and then I'll wake up the next morning and start something else. So I didn't know when Matt's book was coming out. I had heard rumors about the Department of Defense and what that whole process was like. I had heard the worst was going to be like 6 to 7 months, actually. So I thought to myself, all right, if this is going to be 6 or 7 months and this book's not going to come out, I might as well write the other one, the sequel for Night She Cries while He Rides His Steed. And so that's what happened, man. I finished math. I took a day off, and then I woke up and I started writing the next one. And it'll be the same way with this one. I just finished The Janitor, I think, last Friday night. And I don't know if that movie will ever get made. Therefore, next week I've got a couple gigs, like live shows in like New Orleans and shit. When I get back, I will immediately start into the third book. Both of those were extremely successful, and I want to give the people what they want. I'm creativity to me can be controlled. I don't need to, light stage and fucking dance or whatever. Like, you can put me in a box for 8 hours and I can give you the same fucking thing, and it doesn't matter where I am. So I don't believe, me personally, that there's an excuse to ever not be creative or using your time wisely.
That's a great theory.
We talk about the films and stuff like that. Sorry, Brian, I didn't mean to cut you off there, buddy. But there's one film in particular, and we talk about pushing the envelope, right? And
sure.
The content that you guys do in the films and whatever, all the crazy shit that you and the crew are up to. There's one film that I'm slightly disappointed is that it's not getting the green light for, and that is
I know exactly which one you're going to say.
Trans Frank. I was really looking forward to that, man.
Yeah, man.
That's pushing the envelope. Like, I mean, within our community, fine, but outside of that,
know this. I would have done it. I don't care. Like, I don't give a bigger fuck about being or sensitivity and all that other shit. From a corporate standpoint of how big Black Rifle Coffee is getting, and not only here but globally is the next step. And like, I mean, I did a live show from a brick and mortar store of Black Rifle Coffee, for Christ's sake, like a real walk-in brick and mortar Black Rifle Coffee store. That's massive. Like, there's a bunch of those popping up now, and it's like, they're going to become a massive corporation. I understand not doing Trans Frank for whatever blowback fears that could possibly lead to in the future, especially when you're creating a huge corporation. And I know what your follow-up will probably be of like, well, dude, don't sell out and don't be corporate. I think they were correct in that decision, simply for the fact of, if you're a veteran trying to help other veterans, and you have this platform right now and this huge stage of building one of the biggest, companies in the world, because that's the trajectory that they're on. I think it would have hurt them more than helped them and the veteran community, if it would have taken a step back of like, all right, these guys don't take anything seriously, when, clearly they take their coffee company seriously. So I understand why they shelved it, but know this, Ross Patterson would have made that fucking movie.
Goddamn right.
Is there a chance we ever see Ross Patterson make it on his own without the Black Rifle crew in there? Is that something that might happen in the future?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always said this. If there was a billionaire out there listening, like, to any of this shit, and I'm surprised after, fuck, Drinkin Bros has 3.2 million listeners. I think Ross Patterson Revolution has like 1.4 now. One would figure out of like 4.6 million people, there's like a fucking crazy billionaire out there who loves the shit, and it's just like, hey man, here's fucking $20 million. Just go and make all this weird shit that you have, because a lot of it's done, and the biggest, I think the biggest thing that would surprise people is I'm sitting on probably about 57 movies that haven't been made yet, and the scripts are done.
Wow.
Like the scripts, yeah. So like, and like I said, I just finished The Janitor last Friday, so like that's done. The sequel for Range 15 is done, man. I wrote that in 2016. I can even tell you what day I turned that movie in. I turned it in December 1st.
Damn.
2016. Yeah, so it's called Rescue 16, and it's done. Like, there's a bunch of, I mean, a ton of movies, man, that I'm sitting on that are done that I can't make either because I'm not famous enough, or I'm just simply not that rich to finance that you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, if I win that Powerball, I got you, Ross.
Same, and I appreciate it, man. If anybody wins the Powerball, hit me up, dude. Just give me fucking 20 million. Let me make a bunch of weird shit. Because that, yeah, I mean, like the other part about it is this, and this is what I enjoyed with Keller, and like I try to tell everybody. I was on a book tour when Helen Keller versus Night Wolves came out. Is my dream, because I raised part of that money on Indiegogo. I think like 40 grand or something like that. And my dream was with that movie of like, hey man, if you guys finance the rest of this, I'll just give it away for free and put it on YouTube, and fucking everybody can have a copy. You guys can do whatever you want with it. Put it on, iTunes and all that other shit, Amazon, for free. All of it's free. And if somebody came in with like 20 million and said, hey, make all your weird shit, I think I'd just put it up for free.
That'd be great. I'd love it.
Fuck yeah. So what's the likelihood of like, you're sitting on a lot of movies. What's the likelihood of like some of them getting like pushed forward? Like, yeah, we're green light, go. Like we're gonna start making this stuff. I mean, obviously the janitor's done, and you guys talked about that a lot, and which sound like the whole backstory on that is fucking hilarious, and I'm really looking forward to that. But the janitor aside, like the other movies that you're sitting on, what's the likelihood of like those are gonna be pushed out?
I don't know. I mean, look, it would be a coin toss at this point, simply for the fact of comedy. The American comedy is dead in Hollywood. I mean, they're just not making comedies right now. So, I can name, I think, 2 this year. It was Kevin Hart, what the fuck was the name of it? Like, Night School. Other than that, I can't name another comedy this year. They're just not making comedies anymore because they don't do well overseas. 80% of the money that's coming in from film these days is coming in from overseas. So like this. Well,
and that's why we get movies like Skyscraper with The Rock, where the whole movie took place in another country.
Yeah, and you're going to get more and more of that because right now, as of now, I think China owns like 3 of the 6 major studios. So that Meg movie with the shark that ate up all the Chinese people, like that. And they've got a Chinese lead who's subtitled and all that shit. Like, remember Matt Damon was in that movie with the Great Wall, and he was the only white man saving the Great Wall.
Oh, yeah.
What the fuck is this? That's why. So you're going to start seeing a lot more of that. What doesn't work over there is comedies because they've got to translate it. So, you take a movie like Wedding Crashers and Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn's fucking hilarious. His delivery is fucking hilarious. However, when that's translated over there, let's say, I'm going to go pick up my car. If Vince Vaughn's doing it, like, I'm going to go pick up the car. Okay, you stay here. I'm going to go pick up the car. Where there's a translator in China who's taking that movie and then just saying, whatever. And you're like, all right, well, all of that is lost in translation. Because it's somebody reading a line monotone and you're not hearing Vince Vaughn with his delivery. You're not hearing, like, Anchorman overseas bombs. It made like 93 million here and 5 million overseas because they had to dub all that and like nobody understood what the fuck was going on.
Mm-hmm. So
I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know how many more movies will get made. I hope more, but I don't know. I think it would take somebody rich at this point and super rich and willing to let this crazy shit go, because the more and more PC everything gets in the world, the less and less you're going to stop seeing shit like that. So I don't know, fuck, even Super Deluxe just got iced tonight by Turner, and Super Deluxe was making some of my favorite content in the world, and they said it was too fucking weird or whatever once that AT&T acquisition went through. So you're just gonna stop seeing less and less edgy shit.
Well, that was one other thing I wanted to ask you about, because on the episode of Ross Patterson Revolution that came out today, you guys talked about the Connors and how if everything went down with Roseanne, 6 months ago had gone down maybe right now or earlier, maybe things would have gone different. How much do you think this whole PC culture and Me Too and all that bullshit, do you think like that could be the thing that kind of ends Hollywood? Or do you think Hollywood's able to pull through this? How do you think that affects that whole industry?
Well, it depends on if you're a Republican or a Democrat. And the reason why I say that is you take the Roseanne thing, like it was one tweet and, she was apologetic and all that other shit. Whereas, on the flip side of that, you have James Gunn, who was a super advocate for the left and Democrats and all that shit. He had over 11,000 tweets about pedophiles. Now, granted, he was making fun of, there were jokes, there were edgy fucking jokes. And I don't know where and he just got hired, he got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy. And then, people were like, oh man, maybe it wasn't so bad. And it was just like, dude, Roseanne's was one. This was over 11,000. And then he just got hired last week to write and direct Suicide Squad 2. So I don't know where the hypocrisy ends anymore. I'm assuming it's who and where you voted for. Now, if you're asking me if it's going to change, I think it'll change once they get their people in office, whoever they want. I think now with Trump in, the level of anger is just escalated. And, truthfully, with the economy, if the economy stays the same, he'll probably get reelected. And then I see this culture continuing of, I'm too sensitive for this because I don't believe in that. And it's going to be very selective, and it's going to be very hard to make great content and great art comedically because everybody's so afraid of offending everyone. And conversely, it's also changing the way movies are getting made because you're now having to put, everybody's so worried about making an ethnically diverse cast or putting this person in here or a transgender or a gay or whatever. And it's like, they don't always necessarily fit the roles. Like this, there was a reboot of Heathers for the CW, and the characters weren't even close to what the original was, and it was just seemed like we're trying to check all the boxes of what would be the safest route of what everybody is in today's society, and then you have this jumbled movie. Like, I don't mind taking a movie for what it is if the cast is all white or a cast is all black. Just make the best fucking movies or TV shows possible. Don't jam that shit in my face about, what your either agenda is or what you think should be happening diverse-wise with, women or men or whatever. Just make the coolest shit. And I think that's also, going to have an effect on all of this going forward as well, where you're going to get the wrong casting for things. You're going to get people playing roles they shouldn't be playing just simply because there's going to be a lot of people in positions of power that don't want to be looked upon as like, oh man, I'm all about diversity or giving the women chances or giving, and you're like, man, you can't please everybody all the time. You just make the best shit you can.
Right. That's such a fucking hard concept for a lot of people to accept. It's like you're not always going to be fucking happy with whatever is being thrown your way. And people have such a fucking hard time accepting just that principle alone right there. They just want what fits their own personal fucking needs and wants and all the time. And no, the world does not fucking work that way. And people don't fucking get that. They really don't. And it's fucking crazy, man. Absolutely fucking nuts.
And the other thing is like, traveling to all these cities all the time, like I do, like for these live shows and stand-up and events and all this shit, like I get to meet real people, not what is portrayed in the media, not what is portrayed in, movies and shit like that. And it's like, the country is really not as divided as they want it to be. That sells, it's great clickbait and all of this shit. But like, if you go out and, meet people from other races and genders and all this shit, like people really don't have that much of a problem with each other out. I mean, I've been to fucking, you name it, across this great land of ours. And rarely have I come upon an instance where somebody hated you for, X, whatever that was said in the media, And granted, if you drive through the wrong part of town at the wrong night or whatever, like, yes, shit's going to get fucked up probably. But for the most part, 99% of the time, I feel people are compassionate and open to listen to other people's ideals and all that shit. I just think right now the country's, they're trying to tear it apart with the media, but I think these upcoming midterms and just seeing what I'm seeing on TV and in person is a lot different than what's being portrayed.
Right, and that's one of the things like I've been wanting to talk about a lot is that like, are we really that far divided, and like, are we really like separate that much? Because like Twitter's a fucking, like you talk about to quote yourself, Ross, is purgatory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Comparing Twitter to actual like one-on-one conversations and like actual what's really fucking going on. Like if you really like talk to a lot of these people one-to-one, I would almost guarantee the conversation is not how it would play out on Twitter.
No, not at all. And it's and a lot of this shit is fake on Twitter. Like they did this like purge of like the right or conservatives and shit like that. Like I want to say I lost maybe like 50,000 followers, like something. I mean, something crazy like that, 40,000. And little by little, like people came back and all of this shit. And like the more and more, like a big story would pop up out of nowhere and people would be outraged on it, like Kavanaugh, or Urban Meyer, or whatever the fucking big story was at the time. I would look up some of these accounts, and I would say, man, like 80% of them were fake. Like they were just created. It says date created and then who it was, and they were just created to simply talk about that story, push it to the top of the trending topics, and then it creates hatred amongst individuals because everybody's, a lot of people use social media. I don't know who's paying for that behind the scenes, but that's what a lot of this seems to be, and I just don't see it that much in real life.
Yeah, well, and you talk about this whole outrage culture, and I really think that's what part of it is the media always wants to be outraged about something, and if there's nothing to be outraged about, well, they're going to create something to be outraged about. And that's why I really think we should do Trans Frank, really give them something to be outraged about.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm in. I'm all in on all this shit. 2 Wheels of Loneliness, all of it.
Oh, God, I forgot about that.
I know. And it's like, dude, there's a lot of it. And the thing is, like, dude, imagine this. Imagine you're rich enough to make shit like that, like Trans Frank all the time. And you just keep dropping it, and no one could do anything. Like, no one can stop you from putting out this shit. Like, it would be so epic that it would be amazing. Of like, who the fuck is this guy? It'd be essentially like Banksy for movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
You want it all the time, and it'd be great. There's got to be some billionaire out there funding shit where you're just like, hey man, just go and be weird. Like, just go it. I mean, just really fucking go for it.
Did you see that thing where the painting, as soon as it got bought, it started shredding itself?
Yeah, from Banksy.
Yeah, that was great.
Fucking greatest.
Yeah, it was awesome. He's fucking hilarious, man. I mean, he gets the whole gig. I bet if you sat down in a room with that guy, like, for real, he would tell you, my whole thing is a joke. Like, this is completely ridiculous.
And that's what I want people to be like. I just want that massive troll on just like the uppermost level of like, hey, I'm going to sell this for over $1 million. And as soon as you click buy, I'm just going to shred it. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm fucking out of there. I'm done with it.
Ross, one other thing I wanted to ask you is, you've talked about the books that you wrote, and you have an end date for St. James Street James. You already know how St. James Street James goes out, how he dies. You've got it all planned out in your head. Ross Patterson, how does Ross Patterson go out in this life? Because I don't see you growing old and like 100 years old and like in a retirement home, like shitting your pants and flirting with the nurses. I think that there's an epic way that Ross Patterson goes out in this world. Is it strangulation? Is it bank robbery gone wrong? Like, if you could pick your ending, how do you go out?
I mean, it's probably pills, like in like prostitutes and that type of shit. And I would definitely go hard. I don't know how it's going to happen for me though. A lot of people can like predict it, where they're like, "Oh man, I ride a motorcycle. I know I'm going to get killed in a motorcycle crash one day." I have no idea. I can't imagine I would live that long, right?
No,
Like after doing all of this crazy shit in my life, I can't imagine that I would live to like 80 or like 90 years old, like Bob Hope. Like, there's no possible way of that. So I don't know. I have a feeling it's going to be weird, like fucking heart attack on the side of the road, like young or like a plane.
Oh, that would be so anticlimactic, though.
I know. But if I had my choice, obviously it would be different. My wife and child probably would have perished. And then, I go on like a fucking huge, like pill crusade, like lean, like really take out everything in the bank account, prosties, the whole shit. 40, 50 prosties, like coming in one right after another. Like,
oh God. It'd be so great.
Yeah. Maxing out the drugs, maxing out the alcohol. Like, imagine like leaving Las Vegas, but like if you were super rich, like that would be the way of like, all right, this is awesome. So it would be something like that. Like I wouldn't like Bebo Russell was awesome. I mean, he stole the plane and did that shit, which was phenomenal. I couldn't get the plane up. That was the problem. Like, so I don't want to do that because I couldn't get it off the ground.
I'm in Seattle, so that happened in my backyard. I watched all that happen live, and I was like, "This is great. I've peaked. I can go out happy now because of Bebo Russell. So thank you for your service. I can go happy now."
The fucking Sky King, man.
He fucking did it. I can't. That's my problem, though. I have a very limited set of skills. Like, I'm great at books and movies and shit. The rest of life, I couldn't fly a fucking plane. As much as I'd love to say that, yeah, I can fucking hijack a plane. I couldn't get that fucking thing off the ground. So yeah, I would probably go the rapper route. Just really, really light it up Diddy style, like an old school, Fat Joe video from the late 90s, like that type of vibe.
That'd be perfect. I love it.
I get that.
I love everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's next for fucking Ross Patterson and all the crazy fucking shit that you got going on, man? You got your finger in everything these days.
I know. It's funny. So I just had a child, obviously. We've got this sports show for Drinkin Bros, and that'll run through like March Madness, and we'll be going to a bunch of different cities, meeting everybody who listens to the show, and doing live shows with them through then. The third book for When Darkness Falls doesn't catch it. Because there's a Night She Cries, When Darkness Falls. I don't have the title yet for the third one. I'll start reading that right around the first week of December, and then Matt's book will be out next year. So there'll be a book tour for that. And in the meantime, I'm going to try to get those guys to make The Janitor. We'll see what happens. The other one, man, that I would kill to make is A Soldier Came Home.
Oh God.
From Ray Flynn. So it's like there's, even Rescue 16. Like, I wish those guys would do that. I think the audience wants it, but they're all so busy. It's tough to tie everybody's schedule down. But that one's done.
Right. No, I mean, between Drinkin Bros and Ross Patterson, like, I did the math. There's over 600 episodes produced, and that's within a matter of like 2 years. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. It's like, insane. Yeah.
I've been at this.
Like I said, dude, I do 6 shows a week.
Yeah, that's
6.
That blows my mind. Like, I've been at this for a year and some change, and I'm about to drop episode 50 right now. But I
did that last week. I'm like the Ryan Seacrest of fucking podcasts. Yeah. I will say this. If I never made a movie again, I would be okay with it, simply because I love podcasting so much. And I every day to wake up and do it is a joy. And like, I mean, for real, because like I get to talk to people from all walks of life that I would never get to meet or chat with in my entire life if I wasn't doing a podcast. So like, I realize how lucky I am and what a great life that is, that, and in particular next week, there's knock on wood, because I never count it until the interview's like actually in the can. But like next week, I'm flying out to San Antonio, and we're scheduled to do probably one of the biggest interviews there is. It's the most requested one ever on Drinkin Bros. We were, I think, able to pull this guy off, and we'll know, Wednesday or Thursday. And if that happens, I can promise you this: at no point in my life did I ever think that I would meet this guy and get a chance to sit down and talk to him about this story.
If it's OJ, I'm going to shit my pants.
It's not OJ, but
God damn it.
He's still out there looking, though. He's searching.
It's better. Yeah, he's still searching, but it's better. And I can promise you, when we do this, you'll hit me up on Facebook and be like, "There's no fucking way you guys got that guy to do the show."
Look, I'm not surprised by anything that comes out of your guys' asses anymore. But it's all fucking great, man.
Yeah, it's wild. So if whoever's listening, and I don't know how many listeners you have, but like whoever's listening, like if I don't make another movie again, I'm fine with it. I like doing podcasts in the books, and in particular, man, these audio books. Like, this last one is the highest rated book on Audible. Like, entire Audible, there's millions of books on there. It's the highest rated there is. So like, I love writing these books. I love St. James Street James. Love doing podcasts. Like, I'm fine with it. There's so many cool people out there that I would love to meet. I haven't yet, but it's like, dude, that world is almost endless. And the movies, look, again, if rich people want to make them, and I'm here, but trying to pull everybody together, it's very difficult.
Well, and it's cool because I feel like these podcasts, especially the podcasts, they open you guys, Jesse, Matt, JT, Rocco, Evan. Like, I feel like I know all of you guys, and like we are best buds. And so it's great to have that kind of personal connection with people and be able for you to open your life up to other people. And like, it's just such a connection, and it's so awesome that we have that available. And especially with like Matt and JT, as veterans, those are the guys that we need to be able to look up to. And JT's so awesome. When I started my podcast, I reached out to him and I was like, yeah, there's no way JT is responding to my message. In minutes, he was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm down. What's your number? And I was like, oh shit. I was not ready for that, but it's an awesome thing, man. And what you guys do is so sick. It's so awesome.
I appreciate it. And same, man. It's like when you hit me up, it's like, yo, come do this podcast. Like, I didn't even think you told me the name of it. You just said, hey, come do this podcast. So I was just like, yeah, fuck it, let's go.
Yeah, I gave you a sticker down in Philly.
That's right.
Like, oh, hey, Ross,
I don't
here's a sticker.
remember, dude, in Philly, I had about 14 Jello shots with Freddie Mitchell. And,
that was the fucking shit, man.
That was crazy, dude. So like, a lot of that night was a blur after that. But regardless, when you guys hit me up, I was like, yo, let's do it. We're all down, and there's no reason you shouldn't be. In particular in podcasts. That's kind of how the gig works, man. You do other people's shows, and other people blow up, and then they come back into your show, and vice versa. And I apologize. I was out of town for a couple of weeks, but thanks for having me on the show tonight.
Yeah, well, here we are, anniversary night, and you're spending it with us, and I think that's the way it should be.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Look, man, dude, we appreciate you. We love everything that you guys do.
Jesse's gonna fucking lose. She's gonna laugh her ass off.
I'm absolutely tagging her in this. Absolutely.
She wakes up in the morning. She'll be like, "What? Wait, what did you do last night? You did a fucking podcast for an hour? Like what?" Yeah,
that's fucking awesome. Jesus.
But look,
man.
this was number 9 for me this week. So,
shit.
Jesus.
Guys.
Well, dude, like to have you on, this goes out in 2 separate feeds. The Noise Pollution Podcast and the Badass American Heroes Podcast. We just kind of, me and Brandon were homies, from the Army and shit. We were deployment roomies and all. We come together and we just, do what you guys do, like the whole Drinkin Bros thing, man. We just want to have fun, drink some delicious alcoholic beverages, and just fucking, roast the world, man. And and
look, that's the way it should be, man. I mean, life takes you in a bunch of weird places, job wise and work wise and all that shit. Podcast's the one thing where it's like, if you're doing it with your best friends, it like for me and probably you, it forces you to be together and spend some time talking with one another rather than sending dick pics and emojis. So it's great, you know?
Yeah, and I think Blake and I have talked more in the last 6 months that we've been doing this than we have in probably the last 6 years since we both got out of the Army and went our separate ways. So it's a great, it's like you guys say with Drinkin Bros, it's your guys' time to sit down, bullshit, and kind of reconnect after a week of not talking or however long it's been. So it's a great thing.
Yeah, and I'm super stoked. I love it. And again, man, thanks for having me on tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, Ross. Before you go, man, tell the people where they can find you at, man.
At ST James on Instagram, Twitter, and then Facebook, just Ross Patterson. Just make sure all of the pages are blue check mark. So that way, you know, it's not some weird fucking dude in Ireland trying to get money off of you. You know, just make sure all the pages are verified blue, you know, blue check mark, and you're good to go. And I'm always posting super fucked up shit all the time. And then
I love your Instagram.
Yeah, if you, thanks, man. If you want the books, those are available everywhere. When Darkness Falls and Catch It is out now. Again, it's the highest rated book on Audible too. And that's the other thing about these books that I love is those are like movies, man. I hire all actors for those. So like, dude, I have an Oscar winner and 2 Emmy winners in When Darkness Falls and Catch It. So both of those Audible books are out now, and you know, hardback, all that other bullshit's everywhere. And they've killed, and the third one will be out sometime at the end of next year, possibly, or spring of the following.
And you've got, you know, the Ross Patterson Revolution. You've got Drinkin Bros. You've got the Drinkin Bros Sports Show, which thank you, by the way, because I put all my money on Denver the other night. So I appreciate that.
So did I, man. I went all in on that. On those Lock of the Week games, I think I'm 6-1 now this year.
Yeah. I cleaned house on the Denver game. So
great, wasn't it?
It was so great.
My parents did too. They were out in Vegas. And I was like, hey, they were like, we didn't listen to the show this week because we were flying out to Vegas. What was your Lock of the Week? I was like, the Denver game. Put all your money on it. And then they called me afterward and they were like, I can't believe this. Yeah, by the way, I love doing that sports show, and I hope that continues too.
I love it. It's become my favorite show that you guys do.
Thanks, man. It's one of my favorites, and you know, we've got, I think, John Anik on next week, the announcer of the UFC, who called that McGregor fight with Joe Rogan. So it's one of my favorites. I enjoy sports and spreads and fantasy football and in every sport. So it's a fucking blast. And again, we're contracted, I think, through March Madness, but you know, hopefully we'll keep going with it after that.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but guys, so everything for Ross Patterson, everything, all the crazy shenanigans that he's got going on, you'll find it in the show notes, description, YouTube, everywhere else you listen to the Swapcast episodes. But Ross, thank you again, man. We seriously appreciate you being here, taking time out of your day on your fucking your anniversary of all days. Jesus, like Brandon pulls JT on Father's Day, and we get Ross on his own anniversary. Like, fuck it, man. You know.
Well, look, again, you can thank my 6-week-old because she's got to get up super early with the baby, so she was just like, hey, I'm calling it, and that's when I was like, hey guys, I'm up. If you want to rock,
baby for the win, man.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You can thank Baby Jagger for that. Wow. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. And best of luck with your show, sincerely.
Wanted it hard to harbor. I remember that fateful day. A mother left a child astray down in Harambe's cage.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
What an episode.
Yeah.
Jesus, dude. God.
Ross is the fucking man, dude.
Absolutely.
Couldn't
agree more.
Taking time out of his anniversary, you know, put his wife and young child to bed, and then came out and did the interview with us on his anniversary. What a fucking absolute just monster of a man.
What a trooper.
Yeah.
You know, he's out there too, you know. He just wants to have some drinks with the boys too, you know what I mean? Like, he just wants to come hang out.
I like a really like good and buzzed Ross. I think that's the way he should be all the time.
Constantly, yeah. that was good, you know. Yeah, I mean, what more can I really say, honestly? Like, that was a really good conversation. And a kind of side of Ross that you don't really hear too much of, you know?
No, yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting to hear about how he got his start, how he's moved throughout his career, and, like, where he is now. And also that, you know, when he decides to call it a life, he's just going to do a bunch of pills and prostitutes and go out that way. That's great.
Yeah, go out with the bang, you know? Fuck it.
That's the way I would want him to go out, you know?
Yeah, we would just do a nice long slow clap as, you know, he went out, and that would be it. And then he would, you know, meet up with Harambe in the gates of heaven, you know?
God. Oh, Harambe. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I honestly, I had that song in my head all day because it's just, the tune is so catchy. It's like,
it pulls at your heart.
It almost hurts.
It pulls at my heartstrings.
Well, it's, you know, Dick's Out, you know, for Harambe, you know, is it overplayed anymore these days? The Dick's Out thing? No, absolutely not.
Absolutely not. My dick is always out for Harambe.
Oh, anytime. You just ask, yo, Harambe, Dick's out, bro, right now.
Right now.
I'm hanging my dick out.
So dude, that was an awesome interview, and hats off to you for lining that one up. You know, you got to go meet up with Ross at a Drinkin Bros Philly event, and you put this whole thing together, man. So you're the man. You're the MVP today.
Oh, you're welcome for my service.
Oh yeah, thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
All right, you know, no more. We're done. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. Go check out Ross Patterson, the Drinkin Bros community, Ross Patterson Revolution. Go buy his books. Go check out the movies. Half of them are on Amazon Prime for free anyway. So go check it out. Range 15, highly recommended. FDR American Badass. Helen Keller vs. Night Wolves, some favorites of mine.
Oh, and you know what? Check out 50K and a Call Girl. It's a total different side of Ross that you've never seen before. It's a drama, and it's a great movie. So check that one out, too. That one's on Amazon Prime. You can just pop that bad boy on and be amazed.
Yeah, it's a great film, and it also has his wife in it as well.
Yeah, that's where they met.
Main characters.
Yeah,
exactly. You know, so it's a pretty cool story behind the movie itself. But yeah, guys, go check them out. Go buy the books and all that crazy fun shit. Get plugged into Drinkin Bros and all that happy fun shit as well. But that's it. That's all I got. Brandon, you?
No, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight, listening as we went with Ross, and you know, thank you guys for the continued support and coming back and checking us out. Now twice a month, because here we are. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Twice a month. Fuck yeah.
So, yeah, just, you know, big shout out to all you guys. You are, you're the true MVPs out there that are listening to this podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys' feedback for these episodes and everything that we're doing here, it really means a lot. And so keep it coming, guys. We appreciate it. You know, don't also forget to show us some love, too, in the iTunes charts. You know, make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening. People ask, like, oh, I listen to your stuff all the time, but, you know, where do I find you at? Like, dude, just wherever you're listening at, there's a follow button, a subscribe button somewhere on there. Tap that button. That helps us out in more ways than you can imagine. And also leaving some reviews on iTunes. That helps, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's all good fun. So you like our stuff, you know, subscribe to that wherever you're listening and leave some reviews, guys. We appreciate it. It only takes a minute to drop a review. It's not that hard. And it helps us out tremendously, more than you guys even know. So appreciate it as always. So that's it, guys. We're all done, wrapped up. I don't even know what to go for next from here, but I'm Blake.
I am Brandon.
Thank you guys so much for being here for Swapcast number
6.
6? Yeah, this is number 6. Fuck. Thank you, guys. I'm done. I'm done for tonight. I'm signing out. Bye-bye.
Bye.